your iron on the ironing board or a pressing mat and then lay your vinyl on top of it, the heat will just mould it so that it goes flat again. Alternatively, a hairdryer at a distance, not directly on, but just waft a hairdryer or a heat gun that paper crafters would use, and that way your clear vinyl will come back to being nice and flat and straight. Okay, so let me show you what I have been making. So number one is a pencil case. Now this is what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to do this one tonight, but I'll show you what I would do to make the second version. Now the second version has got depth to it. Can you see? So we've got a flat one, and they both start off in exactly the same measurements, the same way of constructing it until we get to the last little bit. So this one, as you see, has got the zip. Now I've also been using continuous zip, so I've cut it off and put the zip on. So it's got a nice depth to it. Looks like a cake from the side, doesn't it? Stop PayPal and guest on website. I've got no other means of taking payment if it's not PayPal though on the website, I'm afraid. Yeah, I could take it off though, so nobody can buy anything. I'll say it's a good idea, Sue. Good idea. And then it's just a viewing website, and we can do things differently later. Okay, so that is the one with depth. So I thought, I'm going to try another one. So here's one in some Medita Sitar. I think you would get a lemon drizzle cake in there, wouldn't you? And then I decided I'll make another pencil case like that. So you can get quite a lot in there, and you can see exactly what is in there. So you could put your threads, you could put your bobbins, you could put your sewing machine feet, you could actually put your scissors, your rotary cutter, whatever you like. But it is nice and easy to make. It really is. Okay, let's pop those out of the way for a minute. There we go. And what I'm going to do, oh, there's Jennifer. Hello, Jennifer. And Suzanne. Oh, is it showing out of stock? Oh, I didn't even look. I'll have a look then. Gita bought some glitter vinyl and Jack did. Hello, Caroline. You're still in Spain. Oh, how lovely. Oh, thank you, Pippa. There's Jill and John. Hello. Oh, Lindor. I love my Lindor. I must admit, I don't think I've eaten any I might have had the odd bit of chocolate since you bought me those Lindor before, but they did last a long time. Oh, pina colada. That's what I need, don't I? Janet, it does feel like a personal attack, and I just don't like it. Let's see if I can put that just there. Okay. Let's see. Oh, there's Christine. Hello. Hello, Christine. Let's just see if there's anybody else. Lemon drizzle cake. And Helen loves these. Right. I'm going to get my pieces. I'm going to dip us down. There we go. We are, ow. Goodness, is it? Oh, that was a needle just stuck in my hand, because that's what happens to me. Right. So what do we need? This is what we need. Again, from scraps of fabric. There we go. So we need a zip. Here's my zip. There's my zipper pull. No doubt it won't go on very easily tonight, but a zip that is 12 inches long or so. Adios, Caroline. Sue, you're right. Sue, you're right. Okay. So the zip, 12 inches. It can be anything from 10 to 12 inches for this particular size. But you can make your own sizes up, because what we need of the size is 10 by 8. So I have got, here's my outer fabric. I've got a scrap of this left over, and I thought, lovely, that will do nicely. 10 inches, that's the side we will be working on for our zip to go on, as opposed to the 8-inch. But if you wanted to do it, because it's basically going to go like that, if you wanted to do it that way, you could. But I'm going to work on the 10-inch side here. So you need one piece of outer fabric, one piece of fusible fleece, one piece of lining fabric, and then you need 2 1-inch by 10-inch strips of fabric, and that's of the outer, or different ones, doesn't matter, and 2 1-inch by 10-inch of the lining fabric. And that is all. And a little bit of fabric for the binding of, there's just 2 seams to bind, and we'll need that to do, I knew there was something else, but I couldn't see it. And that is the clear vinyl, because you were thinking, well, where's the clear vinyl? And all we actually need for this, can you see, is a 2-inch, well, 2 of them, 2-inch by 10 inches. And that is going to make our visible part to either the storage or the pencil case. Okay, so let's put my zip over here with the zip pull, because no doubt I shall lose it. I'll put my vinyl there for the minute. So to start off with, all we do is fuse our wadding to the back of the outer fabric. Then, and we're working on the long edge here, we take one of our pieces of clear vinyl and we're going to lay it along that edge. Now, it is slippy, so we're going to take our lining fabric and put that right side down onto, that's right, right side down onto the vinyl and the outer fabric. Now, what I would do is grab this here and binding clip. Oh, that was the other thing I didn't say about vinyl. Do not use pins with vinyl, with your clear vinyl. It will make a hole and the hole will not disappear for anything, no means at all. So always binding clips. And I say for this point, if you pop a binding clip anywhere down this edge, when you've got your outer fabric with the wadding on, clear vinyl, lining fabric, right sides together, just hold it together to start off with, and then you can start stitching and it will all stay together. Now, as I said earlier, stitch length 3. You could do 2.5 at this occasion, but 3 is better because a short stitch length is going to perforate it. And the more you pull it about, it will eventually peel away from, there we go. It will peel away from the other fabrics. So once I've started, you could put more binding clips down this edge if you want to, but I'm just checking that my vinyl is lined up and the lining fabric on the top, and I'm just pressing my finger down on it, and I am using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, so I'm just keeping that nicely lined up. Hello, Sue. And I'm just going to stitch right down to that end. Now, my fabric has stretched just a little bit, but no problem. Then I'm going to flip it around to the opposite side. So I've stitched this side and I'm going to do the same down this side. Grab my 2-inch piece of vinyl, align that at that top edge, pop the lining fabric right side down. It's already in that position, so it shouldn't go anywhere else. But by putting a clip on it, it holds it together before you start stitching, because one of the things I did notice was it slipped a lot right at the beginning. So, and I don't backstitch there either. So let's just keep that held together. And as I say, I keep flipping that because the vinyl had moved. So pull that across here so that we're nice and flat. And then across like that. And again, as I say, keep that vinyl lined up with that edge, that raw edge, and then just stitch down here. my vinyl's gone a little bit. There we go. Oh, there's a little spider there. Okay, so now I am going to turn it to the right side. So I put my hand in here and just pull that through. Easily done because we leave the two shorter edges open. And then what do we have? Oh, the other thing I'd say, don't feel that you need to press. So you see I've got my vinyl hanging off that edge and my vinyl hanging off that edge. So if you just gently pull it apart, then you're right on this edge and the seam is here with the vinyl coming out. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to top stitch down the side of the vinyl on the fabric. So I've turned that up to 3.5 here. And so if you keep pulling on the other edge, it will keep that nicely opened properly. There we go. Let's just move that out of the way. There we are. So I'm just top stitching, which is another secure way of keeping that totally intact. So I've just flipped that round and I'm doing the same. I'm doing it about 1/8 of an inch away, but you could do it a little bit further, like 1/4 of an inch away if you like. There we are. So I've stitched there. That's all nice and secure now. Nice stitching on the back. And what I'm going to do, you could quilt all over this, which I think is a good idea because it keeps the lining flat to the bottom. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to stitch, still with the 3.5 stitch length. I'm going to do a line of stitching just down here, just straight stitching, just to give it, rather than going the whole way across, just to give it a bit more structure. And I'm just sort of guessing, I'm looking at the edge of my foot, keeping that parallel with that previous seam. There we are. So I've just got 2 lines. Can you see? There's a line of stitching there. Here's my vinyl. And then I've just done another line as well. And the same on the other side here. Okay, what do we do next? What I would do is clip away any threads because they tend to get everywhere. And I'm even going to, I'm just going to trim that little bit away. We will trim towards the end anyway. So I'm just clipping any loose threads because they get everywhere on the clear vinyl. Okay, so now we need to do, and this is in the art of trying not to stitch directly on the clear vinyl. So now we need to take 1, 2. So I'm going to take one of the outer fabric, and I've got my outer fabric here. So I'm going to place my outer fabric right side down onto the vinyl and line that edge. And then I'm taking my lining fabric and I'm going to put that right sides together so that if you imagine that the vinyl's not there, you're just putting 2 pieces of fabric right sides together. So again, this is also slippy. So just hold those like that whilst I get a binding clip to just hold that together. And then it's this edge up here which tends to move. So having got that, I'm holding that together. And remember, I'm going to turn my stitch length back down to 3. But we'll stitch down here with 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. So all the time, I'm keeping my raw edges of the vinyl and the fabric aligned. So let's just push that over just a little bit. And as I say, don't worry if your fabric shifts a bit, because it does. So there is no, just swiveling that round, there is no foot touching the vinyl itself because I'm putting fabric on there. So again, right side down onto the vinyl. If you want to do it the opposite way round, whatever fabric you put here will be on the top edge of the zip. There's my lining going underneath. Oh, there's another failed order. Lovely. Don't you just love it? Right, so I've popped that together. And that's holding it so that I can just start stitching first of all. If you anchor it with the foot, there we go. So it's anchored already. Then I can straighten my lining fabric and pop the outer fabric on top and keep that stitching nice and slowly if it's slipping too much. But believe you, it is much better than if it didn't allow the foot to move because it was sticking to it. Okay, so there I've got my two pieces. Now what I'm going to do is just pull that one back, and I'm just finger pressing that away from the vinyl, and I'm going to flip it over and do the same. Whoops. So we're not pressing this with an iron or any heat. I'm just sort of pulling that back and just finger pressing along that edge. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, along this seam here, I am going to pop some double-sided tape. Now this is fabric tape, so because we're going to be stitching into it, I'm not going to use just any tape, no paper crafting tape on this, but purely the fabric tape, the wash away, not that we're going to wash it, but the wash away tape, and just clip that off. And also what I would usually do is put a bit of heat along here just to bind the tape to the fabric, but I'm using instead the end of the scissors to just burnish that and hope that it sticks just that little bit better. So let's see if this is probably the hardest bit, just to get the right, let's just get a pin, just peel that bit down. As soon as the first bit goes down, there we are. Let's take that off carefully. Okay. Now, where is my zip? Here is my zip. Right, oh, I probably shouldn't have put it on that bit, should I? I should have put it on the other side. Never mind. Never mind. I'm going to, so really, I should have put that tape on the other side. Makes it easier. Okay, so we want to put it on. I don't think I'll be able to take it off, and, well, I might be. Let's just see. Let's just see. See how sticky this is. Probably come off on my finger. Oh, no, perhaps that's okay. Right. So, I'm going to take my zip with the zip coil up. So that side is flat, no zip coil. That is up there. And then I'm going to lay my zip with a little bit of excess on each side. There we are, and just push that down. I think that's on the, there we are. So let's see how well that is going to hold. Okay, it does. There we are. So once we've got that, oops, no, we haven't got it anchored, have we? All right, let me put another bit on. Right, back to, that's it, just fall on the floor. Zip on the floor. Pop that there. Oops, now my tape is running away from me. Oh, what a day. There we go. Right, so let's put our tape down here. Right. Let's pop that on there. There we go. There we go. It worked for me earlier. It was absolutely ideal. So we've put our tape on the outer fabric side. And it's probably not going to stick for me here. Right, let's just pull that fabric out from underneath. Oh no. No, it's decided it's going to be. It's probably because there we are. It's probably because I'm harming it, you see. I'm making that come down there. I'll just take it off with my nail. There we go. Oh, perhaps I've had this tape out too long and I should have got a new one. Okay, so I've got my tape there. Whether it will stick, I don't know. Perhaps I should use, and I've got my zip right side up. Perhaps I should use a bit of fabric glue stick. But let's just push that. So we want it to the edge of the tape to line up. Oh, good grief. I know, if only I drank alcohol. Right, let's have a look to see what I can do. I haven't got a glue stick to hand. So I'll tell you what I'm going to use. I'm going to use some fabric glue. So let's just pop just the tiniest bit along here, because this is okay for fabrics. So I've lined that up, that's it. And I'm just going to line my zip up. There we go. With the stitch line. Okay. I can feel that that's holding that already. There we go. Right. So now we're going to fold this flap of fabric in half and give that a little nail press. So the raw edge is coming up to the edge of the zip, like so. There we are. And I'm just nail pressing that. So that's in half. And then we're going to bring that over onto the zip. Now we can't put pins in here. So that's much better. So that's holding that nicely along there. And then I will flip it over. So I'm holding both sides. I'm going to flip that over so that I can do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to bring that raw edge down to the stitch line. And there we go. And just nail press that, because that's my fold line. Like so. And then, as we did before, the fold comes over onto the zip. There we go. So just push that in, push that in. And we can't get clips on here either, but just fold that nicely down. Let's pop that out of the way. And then I'm going to grab this front and back with both hands, and I'm just pulling that taut so that the fabric stays folded, and then pop this under the machine. Okay. And I'm lining the edge of my foot. You may need a zipper foot for this, but my foot is small enough. And then I'm just going to stitch along here. So the edge of the foot is against the zip coil. And we're just stitching through both sides at the same time. Now, if things are going wrong, a little pointer would be that you can see that under the fabric underneath, which that's all stitched beautifully as well, the fabric underneath would be showing through here, but it hasn't. So what do we do next? Right, so now we're going to, what I'm going to do, and I would always do this so that you can see exactly what's going on. So I folded this up because we're going to pull this zip apart, but I need to make sure it's going on the right way. So we want the zipper coil to be up. So when this comes over here, we are going to need the zip. Right, let's have a look. So I'm just going to pull this apart, and I'm keeping my There is the zip coil on the upper side. So that is going to go. So I'm leaving it just there. What I'll do, I'll put a clip on here so that we can see. So just check that the zip coil is going to be next to here. So we're going to do the same thing with these pieces here. So I'll just pull that out. That's my lining fabric. Just pull that out so that it's underneath. And I'm finger pressing that above. Like that. And what we'll do, if we always work on the outer fabric, so this is going to be on my top edge, so I want to have my little bit of glue on this double, and we don't need very much. Oops, you can't see that there. So I'm just going to put a little layer. It's the outer fabric. See if that's coming out. I think so. It's the outer fabric, and in the seam allowance, there we are. That's lovely. So I've got a little bit of glue on there. Whoops, I don't want that to turn upside down. Right, so my zip coil is up, and then we're going to place the zip onto here. So I've got a little bit of excess at this end, and I shall have a little bit at the other end. So I'm lining it up with the stitched line there. There we go. And that is now holding beautifully. So we will need to then, I'm just going to flip this other piece out of the way. So that's what we're working on. So, and I will actually turn it over. But this raw edge, we're going to fold in half. Oh, perhaps I'll leave it this way. In half towards the zip tape. The coil is facing up here, which is exactly what we want, because this is going to be our outer fabric. Oops, let's just get those out of the way. All right. And then fold that over onto our zip, just like we did before. Give that a little finger press, tuck in the edge, but if you finger pressed it before, it's going to stay in the right place. So then I'm going to grab hold of that, and let's just flip it over there. So that is now underneath. I can allow that to come up so that I can now fold this onto the zip. And I can feel there's a little bit of glue there, which is good because it's going to hold this edge down as well. So I'm just finger pressing, lining it up with the stitch line and finger pressing that fold. And then I can just pull up the fabric, the fold of the fabric on top of the zip as well. So it's containing the zip. Hello, Janet. Containing the zip for us. So I've got my fingers all on there. I'm going to grab hold of it and the underneath one. And then again, whoops, I'm going to flip that. Oh, and it's grabbed hold of that's it. Right, just make sure, you can always just lift that up to make sure it's still folded there. And it is. And maneuver that over to the needle. And we'll stitch along this edge as well. Okay. So there we go. And again, I'm looking for any fabric that's showing under the clear vinyl, because that would mean that my fold underneath has come open. But fortunately, it hasn't. And there we go. Okay. So there we have, whoops, there we have our two pieces with, that's all nicely stitched there, nicely stitched there, and that's going to come together like that. So what we're going to do, what you'll have is a bit of the outer fabric folded over at both sides. Oh, I know what I meant to do. I need to fold this in half, because what I like to do, line up these fabrics here, line that exactly so that we can do a little snip, only a tiny one, just there, so that we can find the center. And then similarly at this end as well, just line that up and then pull that out, and a little clip just there so that we've got the center of that. Okay, so now we need to install our zip. So roughly, I'm just going to, there we go. So we want that, what I'm trying to do is line up these two ends here for popping on my zip pull. So here is my, so I can see that's not bad. If your tape was a lot longer on one side, so I'm going to trim those so they're the same. So they're the same length. So now I'm going to take my, goodness sake, I'm going to take my zip pull and drop it on the floor, because that is what you need to do. Okay, so here I have got my, the pointy end facing away from me, and I'm going to put one side in, and it comes down to about the end of the zip pull. So it's about level. Okay. And then on the other side, I'm not doing any cutting on. I'm just going to pop that in. I'd like to keep that up, and might just click just once. Nope, decided it wasn't. Now sometimes I have to take it off and put it on the other end. Has it gone in once? Oops, no. Let's start it on the other end then. So it could be, I always think, it shouldn't be, but I always think, I'm just going to line that up, make sure that is lined up too. I always think that one end is better than the other. So if it doesn't work on one end, then I'll try the other. Okay, so again, let's just feed that in just there. That the first side always goes a lot easier than the second side. And then I'm going to pop that end in, and usually that just clicks once. Oops, has it clicked? I pulled it out. And then I'm going to pop that down so that I've got my fingers on the tape, and then, oh, worked. Excellent. Now what you want, and I'm very lucky, that is about level there to there. So I am happy that that is on. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch, because we are going to be opening this in a minute. So I'm going to stitch just where the fabric is, just to hold the zip together. Okay, so not through the fabric underneath, just stitch across there and back again, just to hold it. Okay, and then I'm going to turn it to the wrong side. So I'm just going to scrunch that in a little bit and turn it to, yeah, I'm going to turn it to the wrong side. Now, if you're making a pencil case, you don't need to. Okay, let's have a look. So I'm turning that to the wrong side, like so. Okay. And so turn to the wrong side, and I'm going to look for the zip here to line up with my little notch that I cut. There we go, is just there. Okay, so you've got a little bit of fabric this side and a little bit that side, which should be even. And I'm going to pop this on there, and then we'll look at the other side as well. Just fold that over, and I'm looking for this end here to be where that notch is, and then these sides should be even the whole way down, which they look as though they are. And then what I'm going to do now is actually stitch that piece across there. So yeah, I'm not going to, with the pencil case, I didn't need to turn it this way. With this one, I will do the three-dimensional one. So with the three-dimensional, I'm now going to stitch just across where the zip tape is, just to anchor it, okay? So let's stitch across there. Oops, and what we also want to do is make sure we open our zip, because that's what we're going to, that's all right. We've got the marker, so let's just open our zip as far as you want it to, and then we're just looking for, there it is, just there, and then we're going to stitch across where the zip tape is. Okay. Okay. So we'll be able now to just open that down a little bit more. There we are. So actually I've changed my mind. I thought I'd do the more difficult one. So if you were making the pencil case, all you needed to do was leave it the right way and then stitch across and finish the ends with binding tape. But this is the one which is going to be a little bit different in that it's going to be dimensional. So what we're going to do is now we can just line that up. I can trim this tape off, and I can trim off this end as well. Now, if it is not very even across here at all, trim it to what's even. It hasn't got to fit anything. So if you wanted to stitch right down here, you could. It wouldn't matter. So what we're going to do on this one then is we are going to fold this in. So let me just put it like, no, I can't put it like that. I have to do it like this. So we're going to fold this piece here into the tape, the zip tape. So usually if you fold it at the clear vinyl and then just push that in and fold it back, that's it. And then we'll put, there we are. So let me see, can you see like that? There is my clear vinyl. So we want to push the center here into the edge of that tape. And we want that actually to align just here. So when you do the first one, it's a little bit wonky, but you'll be able to move that once we've got, it's because the other end is not in line properly yet. So we'll put a binding clip on there and then move to the other end and do the same thing. So fold along where the vinyl is and then press it to make a little concertina pleat. And, oh, no, that's coming apart now, isn't it? Let me just stitch that again a little bit because we don't want that to pull apart. That is over my, yeah. So let's just stitch through that a little bit more. There we are. That will anchor that very well now. So that's why we anchored that bit, so that we can tuck this in to make a concertina. So if you then run your fingers down here to make that pleat, it should hold a lot better. So let me just pull that down. It's not having much space, but we want those two edges to align just there. So it's in between there, and we'll just get another clip. There we are. And then we can push our fingers down there, and that lines up so much better. Okay, so now I can readjust that. So that is going to come across. There is my, that's it. So that lines up beautifully. And then we're going to do exactly the same on this other side. So again, just fold. So you've got almost a triangle. Oh, that's coming away as well. So I need to stitch a little bit better across here. There. So I'm not stitching on the spot there. I'm stitching, let's just make sure that's on. Yeah. I'm stitching backwards in the seam as well. So I'm going to press that down and then press that in, and so that we get that little concertina. So the first one, as I say, we'll just put a clip there just to hold it while we do at the other end, and then we can make it match a lot better. There we go. So we're just pushing that together. There we go. And run our finger along that pleat. There we go. And let's just push that out a little bit. I'm trying to get it in view for you, and it's quite hard. There we go. So let's just pull that back, push that pleat in along here so that can go down nicely. So push that in there. No further than the zip. You can see the zip tape is there. So we want that to be next to it, basically. There we go. And then push your fingers along there. And let's get our... That's it. Let's just get our clip on there. And then we can move the other end, which is a bit folded there. So that is better. Okay. So now we've got that. You've got your zip here, open, of course. All we're going to do is to stitch across here. So stitch whatever distance you need across here and across the zip and across there. And then we're going to do exactly the same. Oh, I've got a bit of that vinyl poking out there, which we didn't want that to happen. Whoops. Let's just pull that back just a little bit so that lines up. Okay. So again, across here. Now I've come up a little bit more, but it really doesn't matter. There we go. And across there. Okay. So what we are... Oops, there we go, that's all right. What I'm going to do now is cut. I'm going to trim this back to about 1/8 of an inch. Just to trim that off. And trim this one off here. And the next little bit that I'm going to do is exactly the same as if you were making the pencil case. I did put those. Where did I put it? Let's just have a look. So 1.25 inches for your pieces which are going to bind your seams. You could use bias tape if you wanted to, but let's just pull that back just a little bit so it's not in the way. That's it. So I'll stitch it on this side. So I'm going to put my strip 1.25 inches long, just a little bit longer than this. So I start, and I'm just going to fold back that first edge. So let's just stitch across here. And again, so here I can just trim off to probably 1/2 inch or so and fold it back. Whoops. There we go. And then just stitch across here. And we can finger press that fold, flip it to the other side, and let's just cut that little bit off thread, and then we can fold this back to the raw edge and fold that up over our raw seam. So then let's just pop that under. Now nice and slowly, because there is a thickness here. So I've still got my stitch length of 3. There we go. All the way across. And if you want to reverse, I'm going to reverse diagonally towards the edge. So what I did, I came up and then across and back down there and clip that off. And then this side, where is my, oh, there it is here. Let's do this the other way. So I'm going to pop that, fold it back, line it up with the edge, 1/4 inch seam allowance. I can trim this little bit off as well. And then we can fold that back too. Give that a little finger crease. Stitch to the side. I'm just going to trim that off. And then we can open that out, flip it over, and I did this the other way around, which doesn't matter which way you do it. You could add it to whichever side and then bring that over the top, and we'll just stitch that down. It should just about cover the stitching of your previous, of your first line that you did to attach the binding. And then, as I say, I'm going to reverse into the seam just diagonally and clip those threads off. Clip that thread off there as well. And then, oh, let's clip this thread off here because they do show. Okay, so then we can open this up. Let's open it all the way down and just turn this through to the right side. So all your seams are covered. And the other thing people sometimes do, if you find it hard to turn it, you could use your hairdryer just to soften the vinyl up for it to come through easily. Okay, so that's opened out, that's opened out, and there we go. So up in these corners, you can either allow just pull that up just a little bit, but allow those, can you see these binding bits here? Just allow them to make that shape. Let's just do this here as well. So you just poke the corner out a little bit, just to shape that up, and then just here, or you could pull it the whole way. But what it gives you is that nice angled shape at the ends. Okay, and just push those bits out like that. Push those bits out there and zip it up. You could, of course, put little pulls at each end, which I haven't done, but you could do. And there is your, so there's a bit of thread there. Let's have a look. Let's just pull that up just a little bit more. You can shape this. And this is where, if you haven't quite centered your zip, which I don't think I have, but if you had centered that zip, you would have identical ends. I'm just putting my fingers in there. But a nice little, whoops, there's a thread there. Nice little container to, which shows you, or which you can see through for whatever you decided to put in there. There we go. There we go. Looks a bit, there we are. I could perhaps preen that just a little bit better. So you can see through, see what you put in there, and you could put whatever you like. Okay, I think I'm just going to tuck this out. So I've got one here. I'm going to tuck this even further. So I'm just pushing the, there we are, the turning, the binding rather, right up into that corner. Just makes the shape a little bit different. Let's turn this one up and just pull the edge down there, tuck it in. There we are. So that you can see those at the top. I've got another bit of thread just there. just makes your container a little bit narrower, less deep, but you can tuck those into that corner. And let's just tuck this one up here as well. But it allows the vinyl to be fully shown without poking your nails through it. There we are. That's just there. And push that bit just there. Okay. There we are. That's better. That's better. Oh, I haven't quite got that one out. Let's push that one up there. That is it. So a little bit of preening, a little bit of manipulating. There we are. And that's better. So there you've got that full. It is very practical. And sewing a zip wasn't too bad at all. I don't mind sewing zips in the slightest. So there is our one this evening. Here is our one from the other day, or that I made the other day. And a little blue one as well. And then, as I say, if you were making the pencil cases, once you'd put your zip on, you didn't need to turn it the other way. But you just, oh no, we did. Yes, we put our binding on and turned it the other way. I'll tell you. Yes, we just put the binding on without folding in those sides to give there. But what you could do, as I did start to say, if you didn't want to turn it through, you could have your zip on the outside and then just bind the edge if you could do it nice and neatly. Just your type of make, Kerry. Fantastic. Okay. Oh, we've overrun a little bit, but never mind. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. Tomorrow, nothing. But on Thursday, we're going to have the denim that's coming in. Here's one I made earlier. Yes. The denim that's coming in and some more bargain fabrics. So they will be Modas and Macawas, all at really special prices. So again, thanks for joining me. And enjoy the rest of your evening, because I certainly will. I feel a bit weary now after such a day, and I'll go and see what the computer's saying. So bye for now.